first and foremost, I think they will be entertained. I do. I think they will walk away just saying that was a really good night out. And I hope she has a bigger production. I would see it again, or I would tell my friends about it. I think they will be enlightened a bit, that they can be entertained and enlightened at the same time. And I think that they will feel some sort of connection. I mean, you said it about you like Wendy Wasserstein. I connected with her immediately with all her plays. I feel the same way. You know, all the plays I like, I feel the audience will connect. They will have a good time, first and foremost. They will say it's much better than staying home. It's much better than watching da-da-da. Oh, how come I haven't heard about her before? It's funny how, you know, she can write about illness and even make it funny. I also must say that my play is a lot, and it's about having a person with a mental illness in a family and how it impacts on the family and how it impacts on the children. And that is always underlying my play. And I do think that many families do not want to deal with mental illness, or still in this day and age have a problem with psychotherapy. And if I get some people to maybe look at themselves a little bit more in the process of being entertained, I would be delighted to have them look at, oh, she loved me. She did the best she could. She had an illness, and that's why she was the way she was. It wasn't about me. And the mental illness within the family and within ourselves, I hope it continues to be looked at, you know, without any struggle, you know, without anything. In New York, there's more therapists than there are people in therapy. I mean, it's kind of a way of life. Hi, I'm Nancy Davidoff Kelton. I am the playwright who wrote Finding Mr. RIGHTSTEIN, and it is one of the 2 winners of the Long Beach Playhouse New Works Festival, and it will be read April 1st. I hope to see you there, and I'm very excited, a little nervous to be there. And I hope you're just excited. Please listen to this interview about my play. It was a lot of fun, even though my earring fell off. It was a lot of fun being here and talking to you all. I think that the staged reading of Finding Mr. RIGHTSTEIN is going to be as much, if not more, fun. I fell in love with Long Beach Playhouse when I sent it to them for a lot of reasons. And I thought they were, if you want me to tell you specifically, I wanted to go to a New Works festival, and there didn't seem to be restrictions. I didn't have to be a California resident or a certain age or have a certain theme, which some theaters do, and it said New Works. Then I wrote and asked if I could send 2 10-minute sections that work and the full-length play. And that same day, Jane Nunn wrote me back, the very same day, send us your full-length work. And I thought that was very responsive and very respectful of the writer. And I have felt since that contact that Long Beach Playhouse has been very respectful of the writer. And then Madison Mooney wrote me and said, this is what works if we accept your play. And then she said, we welcome you to our family. That there was no acceptance then, but it was just, we welcome you. I thought that was very lovely and welcoming. A combination of the pandemic and who I am, I am very attracted to warmth. And I felt Long Beach Playhouse people were very warm. Then Sean Gray wrote me and told me what to expect. And I've written him a few times, like he had asking him to repeat that. And he also wrote me back the same day. And I think my questions were a little nudgy. besides being very excited, I'm a little nervous, and I let him know that, but he didn't make me feel that I was annoyed. She just answered them. And everybody has been so, so lovely. And I felt that the description of what they expected was just welcoming. I write a catalog description for the new school where I teach. It's a little different from other writing classes descriptions, and I get warm students. I get students who feel engaged to me right away, and I felt this engagement with Long Beach Playhouse. I wrote a book on writing because I've been a writing teacher for 40 years and writing from personal experience. That was grew out of an article I wrote for Writer's Digest. Then I wrote my memoir, Finding Mr. RIGHTSTEIN, from which I adapted the play. And the memoir, my memoir, Finding Mr. RIGHTSTEIN, after my mother died, I wrote about her illness and how it impacted on me, both as a child, feeling unlovable, and then in my adult relationships. Why am I the only person who doesn't have the gene to sustain a relationship? I couldn't, and I was writing about dating, and I was writing about my dad, who I was attached to, but there was a price with that. And somehow I put that all together, was who I was as a little girl, why it's taking a reasonably smartish, person, decent enough company, having such a tricky time with a partnership. And I put it together, and I thought both of those topics, not having perfect parents, which everybody in the world, I know one person who didn't relate, and she didn't stay in my class very long, and struggling in relationships, and is it about them, is it about me, what's going on? I put it all together, and I typically see some humor in the pain, and I started sending it out, and there was my memoir. And when I launched Finding Mr. RIGHTSTEIN, the book, I had the best time reading sections with dialogue. I think that if I love dialogue. If I didn't write dialogue, I probably would. I hear voices. I think I'd be in a padded cell. It's my favorite thing. Describing things is more work for me than having my characters talk to each other. And I know playwriting is so much more than that. The first piece I ever sold 50 years ago was called The Teacher's Lunchroom, and it was about two first-grade teachers discussing their classes and the reading in each of their classes and their pettiness a little bit in the teacher's lunchroom. But the whole piece was in dialogue, and it's the most fun I have writing. Of course, playwriting is so much more difficult than just, it's what to take out and this and this. I'm learning so much in this process, but it's fun, the writing of dialogue. I don't know if it was a need, but I tell my students, and I feel the same way about me, that if there's not a sense of urgency, you shouldn't write it. There has to be some kind of urgency. I just recently lost a friend, and the end of her life, I'm very pulled into our last few visits, and I wrote about it, and I just had the piece published. And the writing about my mother and having a fractured relationship and making peace with her and finding a place for her to live after my father died, I think they're very universal things, mothers and daughters, and the struggle, and then what to do with mom when she can't take care of herself. Do I take her in? Do I put her in a home? The guilt about putting her in a home, all those things. I was writing bits and pieces of that in the memoir, and then making short plays and having readings, and people came up to me after, I'm going through that with my mother. You made me cry. This is what I'm going through. And I think what I say is very relatable. Instead of staying too long with men who are not going to be keepers, it just all came together. And I wanted to tell this story, and I can't write about other, I mean, Finding Mr. Rightstein is somewhat fictionalized. And I went deeper than I did in the memoir, but I think my story is a story that is the deeper I go and the more personal I am, the more universal it seems to me that it is. So Joanna, age 50-ish, is divorced, and her father has died, and he's still her main man. She can't quite go forward. And he filled up a lot of space for a lot of reasons. It's partly her and partly the two of them. And she wants to move on. And her mother's in a home, and she goes out with people. She goes to her therapist to find out why is my life not exactly working. And there's flashbacks to who her father and mother were with her, and they both put her down in the looks department. So she didn't think that she was very pretty, and that was difficult. And she had to sort out what was them. I guess we all do. And I think what's our parents and what is us? And what do we carry? And we do carry so much of our past with us, and the stuff, what's self-sabotaging, until we work it out. Oh, they had a problem and I am lovable. And it takes a lot of work to find oneself and to love oneself enough, I think, to love another person. And I think that's the story I wanted to tell. I want them to all call their artistic director friends and and producer friends, and say, when are we going to see the production? Because I want to buy 2 rows for my friends. I want the audience to say after, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. And the real truth is, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that line. It touched me and it amused me, and I want them to say, yeah, I went through that with my daughter. I went through that with my mother. I went through that till I met the guy I was supposed to, be with. It took me a long time to see myself, but I want them to say, how did you know what I was feeling? It felt like you were walking in my shoes. I felt like I was walking in yours. I made a connection with Joanna. I hope that there is a reaction. I hope that sometimes there's a gasp or a chuckle where I might not think there would be. When I was talking to Meredith, the director, she said there was a line, it was so tiny. And she said, but it showed the change in Joanna and her mother's relationship. And I am so touched that she found that the tiny lines show the arc, things changing in the play. I want to feel that the audience is feeling it and getting it and saying, oh my God, she's like writing about me, or how'd she know? I want to have that feeling. I want to feel that I'm connecting. I think people have, if people who get in touch with themselves have stories to tell. And if telling my story about having a mother who was ill, and it impacted on me, and it impacted on my sister, and how I viewed men, and how I viewed love. Oh, she can write about that. You don't have to have a terminal illness, and you don't have to have sexual or physical abuse to write a story. I think many people have stories to tell, and maybe it will empower them to tell their stories, and certainly listen to one that's entertaining. People will hear it. The standing room only audience on April 1st. I saw the humor in death, and I think having a sense of humor is what keeps us going for a while, a passion and a sense of humor. So I hope people see that I saw that in things, and that they will look at things that way, and feel free to express what's in their heart and their soul. I'm Nancy Davidoff Kelton. I won the Long Beach New Works Festival 2023, along with Chuck Cummings, and my play will be read, a staged reading, April 1st at 7 o'clock. I would love to see you there. I'd love to meet you during the intermission or after. I would love to hear your feedback at the panel discussion after with the cast, the director, drama critic, and me. I would love to hear what you think needs tightening, where I went on too long, where you want more, where you say this worked beautifully, or I don't get why you stuck that in. I am very open. I am a born reviser, and I think this is a beginning. I would like to come back and present you with a production, and I would love to shake your hand and see you there and hear a lot of what you have to say and who you are and what you do. And the more the merrier. I don't think we're going to drink in the theater, but we can hold up our pretend glasses and share a moment. I will see you at the theater April 1st at 7. I'll probably be there a little bit early, changing seats and saving one for my daughter, who's going to arrive a little bit later, and saving one for a cousin. I don't know people in the Long Beach area, so I'd like to meet you. So come over and I'll wave to you. If you're watching this now, you'll recognize me. I don't know if I'll have my glasses on. I might be biting my nails a little bit, biting my fingers, but I would love to meet you there. And I'd love to hear your feedback, and I'd love to hear who you are. So I'll see you April 1st at 7, and then again at 9 when the play is over, and then after the talk back. Thank you so much for listening, and see you soon.